Yeah, and thank you, Susan, and thank you, Susan, and thank you, Eamon, who were instrumental in inviting me to be here. It's Mr. Dave Duggan. I'm Dave Duggan. It's dramador agus uaiscéalaí mé. I'm a dramatist and novelist. Agus tá orm bheith an seo san áit bhfuil ionta tábhacht dúsa. I'm delighted to be in this place, which is a very important place for me, personally and professionally. There are people in this room and who are in this building who have been a great assistance to me personally and professionally over the past 20 years in making work. So it's a particular privilege and pleasure to be back in this spectacular new building for the first time in a formal way. As Susan said, I'm a dramatist and novelist. I live in Rosemount and I make work that kind of goes everywhere. So some of you may have seen a play of mine in the Playhouse last year, a Belfast company, a play called Macaronic, a science fiction drama, toured all over Ireland last autumn. Some of you may have even seen a piece of theatre and film of mine in McLaughlin's hardware shop on William Street in 2013, something I'm particularly proud of. That year also I made a piece of radio drama for Radio 4, starring Amanda Burton and Rona Gallagher and Alan Wright. Last major theatre production in the city, I suppose, could be said to be 2010. I made a piece of theatre, wrote a play about Francis Ledwidge, a poet soldier in the First World War. Some of you may have seen that. The Playhouse produced that with Jonathan Burgess as their theatre producer. It was the first theatre production ever to be held in the decommissioned Everington Barracks, well ahead of 2013. Theatre and culture existed long before any designations of any type, and will do so again. So that's a kind of a quick sketch of fairly recent work, but today's activity is around a strand of work which features in this book called Plays in a Peace Process. Since 1996, when I wrote a play called The Shopper and the Boy, which received the support of Derry City Council's Community Relations Council to tour non-theatre venues in the city, Shantala Community Centre, New Buildings Community Centre, and so on. Maureen Hetherington actually was the Community Relations Officer in place at the time, without whose help that strand of plays wouldn't happen. There's 7 plays in that. Company called Sole Purpose Productions was the production company. Company still exists. Have a look at their website, doing flying work. So if you're interested in that work, it's in this book. An outrageous plug, but unashamed. Jenny Doherty's Little Acorns bookshop in Bedlam, straight out the back, straight across. She'll sell you these at a certain price. I thought this strand of plays was over. I thought the peace process, the political process, with all its foibles and flaws, I thought that had removed the necessity for art, theatre art in particular. Little did I know that there would be dissidents, people who, for various reasons, we're mainly familiar with Republican dissidents, but there are significant numbers of loyalist dissidents as well, people who are not comfortable with the current political process. So, as is my wont, I wrote another play. UK City of Culture gave me some money, Individual Artist Award, to write the play and to stage a reading. So this play is also available in Jenny Doherty's shop. DENIZEN. Denny, yeah. Eamon Dean there was asking why DENIZEN. Words are my business, I suppose. Words and gestures, acts. The word denizen is very similar to the word citizen. It's also very close to the word dissident. So those are 2 kind of reasons for it. Also, it's a cracker word.
Is it a real word?
It's a genuine word. Look it up, your Oxford and everything, yeah. The kind of thing like Rapunzel was the last denizen of the tower. That's the kind of usage you'd have heard it, yeah. So this is in production, as Susan said, it's in production at the minute. Cragen Enterprises Limited, Conal McFeely, Garwin Downey, people like that. Secured legacy funding, and so we're cast. Jonathan Burgess again is acting as the theatre producer for the work, bringing all his experience to bear on that. We're cast. we met, Jonathan and I actually met with the lead actor, a fellow called Diarmuid de Fuicha. He's an actor from Galway. We met him in a roadside eatery in County Sligo yesterday, halfway up and down. He's been to Derry a good few times before. You may have seen him if you watched T.G. Carr, a very good drama, journalist, cop crime drama on T.G. Carr called Corp Agus Anam. He's the journalist in that. On stage, he was in Defenders of the Faith by Stuart Carolan last year, toured Ireland. The other two principal parts are held by Orla Mullen, who's from Limavady, lives on the waterside here. Most recently seen on television in The Fall, and she was in the Panto in the Forum last year. And she's also took part in the reading of this with me last year. And the other part is boxer turned actor John Duddy, who's a Derry fella living in New York, and he's coming back here end of the month to be in this. So that's kind of background to the books and so on, and the plays. As Susan said, it's about political violence, and so an opportunity via Eamon and Susan to reflect upon political violence is offered by the play. Like all plays, its principal role is to entertain and to engage people in an entertaining manner with language and action and beauty and order and all the kind of things you'd hope for from art. And it's a theatrical gesture in a kind of a fairly grand scale. And as I say, it'll be in the courthouse 6th, 7th, 8th of April. Yeah, any questions about that the minute before we kind of move on? Okay, that's grand. How does this work for me? Why do I write this play and not other plays? Well, I write all sorts of plays, and I notice people say, where do plays come from? Why am I excited to write this kind of play or any other kind of play? A thing happens where I start getting an itch in my palm. This is a bit of a metaphor, but it's true. I start kind of going, and images start going in my head, and words start resonating in my brain, and the pen starts to come out. I was struck by how many people were using the term scum, thug, about dissidents. And I kind of thought, that's a paucity of language. That's not enough. These are people who live in the same city as me. And referring to them as scum and thugs, it's not going to get us very far. So there's a challenge to me as an artist with words and actions to intrude new language into that space. So that would be one thing. I'll give you an example of how that kind of works for me. I go up and down on the train to Belfast with work, and anybody who does, and if you don't, I would highly recommend it, get out of the car and go on the train. Bellarina, beautiful station on the way. And for years, that word, Bellarina, has just kind of, and I find out it is Italian, Bellarina, beautiful strand, beautiful beach. It's from Bishop Hervey, and he named Bellarina. He was a bit of an Italianophile. So now I have a story under negotiation with the BBC about a fella goes to war, ends up in Italy and comes back to Bellarina. So you'll hear more about that if it crosses the line. So that's kind of how the way things work for me, as with Denizen. But he speaks verse. And why does he speak verse? If he's a scum and a thug, he couldn't possibly sound as, quotes unquote, smart as this. Well, he speaks because the things he's talking about or engaging with or worried about or planning are huge and big for him, and he must reach for big language of a different order than naturalistic language. Hence he speaks in verse. And he is not a real person in the sense of, oh, that's him over there, but he is a credible theatrical invention. He's real in the sense that he's on the stage. He's as real as Hamlet. He's as real as Lear. He's as real as Lady Macbeth, as we see them in the theatres. So he's real in that sense. Okay, any questions about that stuff before we move? No? clear as mud. So as Susan said, this is a garden of reflection. We are all the roses and the shrubs and the lilies and the plants and the lawns and the paving stones of that marvellous metaphoric garden. So I'm going to invite us. There's about 25 of us in the room, I'm reckoning. 5 groups of 5. If I hand you a set of pages, you will have 5. If I hand you a set of them, you'll have 5 pages. I invite you to get 4 other people around you. Get yourself knee to knee with the peoples. Have a look at the page and listen to each other about thoughts on political violence. There's some questions on the bottom of the page which are a guide. Our colleagues with the cameras will kind of move and get out of our way and facilitate that. So if I hand you a page, get 4 other people. Take a page yourself and get 4 other people. If you've got to leave, no bother. If you've got to leave partway through, politely, quietly exit and all that, but no bother. We'll go with this for about 20 minutes. Slightly repeating myself. The trick is the listening, reflect, think. What do I think about political violence? Look at the questions along the bottom. Instance of political violence. Young man in Mona Estate in Belfast shot this morning. Political violence. Ukraine, Russia, sign a ceasefire, blowing the daylights out of people, each other. Political violence. People walk into a cafe, shoot people at a meeting. Political violence. Drones passing over northern Pakistan as we speak, bombing villages. Political violence. All of that is of interest to Denizen, and it's in the play. Yeah. So, as I say, if I hand you a page, get 4 mates up here, there, you know, around the room. As I say, our colleagues with the cameras will be around and will move and so on. And we'll go with that. It's about 1:15. We'll pull it all back together at about 22 and then have another bit of this. Is that okay? Yeah? All right. Fai Kera Ella, Leshin.
Well, of course, either people have invited no one has ever lasted
Oh yeah, if you want to see his knuckles, they're on display at the show. I'm not going to take him a souvenir, and they are probably displaying this man's knuckles at the butcher shop. But also those photographs have gone viral. But it's very oh yeah, definitely. You know, until the civil rights legislation, black people weren't even allowed to.
If you'll allow me just to intervene briefly, just you've been going about 10 minutes now. Listen, it's really great. People are going hard, listening hard. But just check with your group. Has everybody in your little group had a chance to speak? Not. Don't force anybody, obviously. But has everybody had a chance to speak?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Just check. No, just check yourselves, and just check if everybody's a chance to speak. Oh, aye, surely, yeah. And then go around again. We'll give it another 10 minutes, maybe. Yeah, we're going well. Thanks. Yeah.
As long as it wasn't actually, there was no threat of violence, it wasn't political. You know, if people said, oh yes, that's good. Black Panthers found out that the Constitution guaranteed them an inalienable right to mount a bus, to get on a bus with a shotgun as long as you could see it. And that actually began to draw people's attention. There was an awful lot, I remember that. How dare those people get on the bus? And we had done personally as a white piece to them for centuries was going to come back.
disproportionate Latino program.
It's actually larger than the white population combined. If you look at the voting population of black people and white people combined together, or black people and
People need to head on, that's fine. It's about 20 to quarter to, we'll be finished by 2. Yeah? Look, well, firstly to say thank you very much. It's a great privilege to me as a writer to hear people discuss things that interest me and tangentially to discuss some of my work. But these matters interest me. And the fact that 25 of ye went hard at it for half an hour indicates that I am not alone, that it interests ye as well. And no doubt a wide range of thoughts and ideas would have been expressed in it. All the extracts came from this play, Denizen. As I said, it's written in verse.
I wonder would Jenny Doherty have anything?
Jenny, funny you should say that. Little Acorns Bookshop. They're also available online via Guildhall Press's website. And if you must support the corporate giant, Amazon has it as well. But Jenny Doherty is much nicer than Amazon. And she's more likely to spend the money in the city here. And as we were saying earlier, it's in production. So it'll be on up in the courthouse, Londonderry Courthouse, Bishop Street, 6th, 7th, 8th of April. So, are there any matters that arose in the group that struck you, that interested you, that you want to bring into this group? And if there aren't, no problem. You know, but if there are, fire away. Could I also recommend, given that there's 25 of us and it's a short period of time, that we kind of take it handy, keep it tight. Pithy is the word in our business. Keep it pithy and make sure other people get a chance to get in.
I did not give your text the time and respect that it deserved.
That'll be marked down against you, John.
We all thought that.
She will be objected with political violence now.
That'll be noted.
So you asked us to listen.
Yeah, to each other, yeah.
I don't think I scored terribly highly on that either.
Yeah.
And I can't speak for others in the group.
Yeah.
But I think there was
Cyclops
efficiency
ashes
there
for you,
too.
definitely.
So that's the kind of problem. Now we were under constraints of time.
Of course.
And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Just be honest, we nearly came to blows
Yeah.
at one point.
I think the matter about time is a critical one. What I would suggest is this is 20 minutes in a room. This is a lifetime's conversation.
Yeah.
So there is.
It was a short bit of time to deal with a very big subject.
No, it's on. When you walk out the door, this subject is still on.
Yeah.
So there is plenty of time. There's a particular focus for the time, but this subject is on all the time. There are people currently making weapons in our city at this minute.
I think it was interesting to go back. I think we focused on the questions
Yeah.
probably first and foremost, but then reflecting back into your script.
Oh yeah.
Just, particularly the one that we got and what that actually meant in relation to the questions that you were asking was interesting.
Mm.
I think we find it really difficult can violence achieve positive change? And the words violence and positive change don't sit well.
Mm.
We find that we struggled.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly did. I know it would probably, because we talked about that quite a bit,
Yeah.
how political violence and positive change, those two phrases surely don't go together, because, how can violence lead to positive change?
And yet it's used all the time.
Yeah.
So
And you could argue that yes, there is positive change, things change and things get better, but why do we always have to resort to violence?
hence the play.
And things don't change. We were just saying about the Middle East, Iraq and Afghanistan, and the rise of ISIS. That's
We thought the
worse.
positive depended on which side you're looking at it from.
Yeah.
If you're the winner, then it's positive
of course.
if you get what you want.
In fact, there certainly. Yeah, thank you for all of those contributions. The one about the focus thing and the time, and then about the language, and of course back to me, language is my business. Those words are put down for a reason. Do you know what I mean?
Very well chosen words.
Yeah. So, yeah. Any other notes or comments that come out of other groups or remarks? Is there?
Well, as I read it first, Dave, I really liked it, but there was just one bit that kind of really
Yeah.
got me, and I kind of felt, well, no, I'm not that says we are all guilty as the bomber of Hiroshima who pushed the button. And I instinctively felt, we're not all guilty. And I know we can be guilty in a passive way sometimes by letting things float by us, not doing anything. But that was kind of very strong, and it really kind of got me when I read it.
Yeah, that's Denizen speaking, in the sense of validating his acts of violence. So if his assertion is really around, well, if you didn't do anything to stop the bomb in Hiroshima, why are you stopping me? I'm going to blow the arm of one woman in a shop. The bomb in Hiroshima blew up, well, arguably now, millions of people. So that's really where he's going for. But I think what's interesting, Ursula, is that you would say, that's not me. And that connects with that wonderful phrase anti-war movements have used in recent years, not in my name. And that goes back into the questions of positive change. Yeah.
But is there essentially a great hypocrisy about all this in this sense, not in my name, but so long as somebody else is using violence, it allows us to live in peace. Not in my name, I'm a peace lover. So long, but scrape me, and I'm a savage.
Yeah.
This is the argument that we had.
Yeah.
Whether or not scrape any one of us, and we're savage.
Yeah.
I can see that about you, Eamon, but I can't see it about
exactly. We were all
can't
arguing
see it
against
about myself.
women, especially, were trying to say we're not savages, and it led to a debate on male and female.
But I mean, it's striking that you, Eamon, would say something like that, given your legacy of your work, the positioning of your work over, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, you know what I mean, to interrogate these questions. And so is there a genetic human animal aspect to violence that, as to use our language here, a civilized entity like this convocation here will be part of the process of saying that's the case, but there are other options, which is the last question. Yeah.
There's always been war.
Yeah.
If you go back to, we talked about back to the Greeks,
Yeah.
the classics, the sea going, the sea was red with blood after some of the sea battles, and that's not changed. The technology's gotten better. They can kill more people. It's become less of a heroic enterprise now because you can mess it up.
Yeah.
And not, but just to comment on this,
Yeah.
it's interesting, but I think you see it a bit too subjectively as the one person, because it's more than one person, it's a group.
Yeah.
And we tend to think that such and such is, well, he's a this, that's a this, and he's bad.
Yeah.
But it comes down to this sort of notion of that's a bad man.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it neglects the reasons why they're there, why the group is there, that they have the valid reason for being there, that they didn't have a valid reason for being there. Are they killing for nothing?
All questions that are addressed in the play.
In the play, yeah.
All questions that are addressed in the play.
Sometimes there is a tendency to do that.
I singularize individual. Yeah.
The bad apples.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. One of our responses would be there are bad people and only they do bad things and they're bad. And then considerations like context, history, as was cited there, mythology, we can go back further than the Greeks in Ireland, back to Cuchulainn and all that team. Our great hero myths in Ireland involve people stealing bulls of each other and wiping out thousands of millions of people. So our great saint in the city here was involved in a huge war episode, hundreds of thousands of people killed. So these are considerations brought present, and I suppose speaking in response to your remarks there in defence of theatre, what theatre does is takes all of that context and puts one person in front of you and say, this is him now, this is it, this is the guy, this is, how do I leave liking him, disliking him? Can I relate to him? That's one of the aspects. It's not history or it's not politics, it's theatre, and art, and the flaws in it,
It has to be framed in context.
Absolutely, he'll give you plenty of that. Buy the book, Fiver, Jenny Doherty. That's another plug.
If you take civil society, society makes rules.
Yeah.
You can do this, you mustn't do that.
Yeah.
If you break the rules, then society uses force against you.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily going to chop your head off. It might have done in the past or hang you.
Yeah.
But it uses force against you. You're fined, or you're imprisoned.
Mm-hmm. Or your water is shut off.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. So
Yeah.
violence, whether it's extreme violence or gentle violence, is used by society legitimately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when
discussed-
things are going my way, I'm a very peaceful
Yeah.
man, you know. You finish the sentence for yourself.
No, I wanted the end of your sentence. What do you do when you're really wild?
I get very upset.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get, it's almost as if I'm a different person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you're not a person, you're scum.
Yeah.
This is the point right there.
One. Careful.
But that's very close to what you were saying, that
Yeah.
if you scratch us, if you disturb
Yeah.
that thing that's going nice and smooth and we're getting it all our own way, if you scratch that and upset that balance, then
Yeah.
you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Is
And that
that
connects.
the
Sorry, just
same?
just underline that connects with that individual stuff you and Eamon are talking about. Connects with the kind of the state stuff and the historical stuff. So they're context of various types. Yeah. Just before you came in, I'm just going to. Gemma was about to get in there. Yeah, and then you, Eamon. Is that all right?
We discussed what is violence, and we talked about in nature all creatures seem to be violent against each other, trying to eat each other, and we have children being slapped by their parents as a form of violence. But can violence achieve positive change? I personally thought that yes, it does. We were very uncomfortable with that, but it does. And I couldn't come up with what other options do such individuals have in groups, or groups have, because we're persuaded to, or we try to persuade us that political participation is an alternative. But in societies where there is inequality, then people are blocked from political participation.
Thank you, Gemma. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to digest what you've just said, Gemma. What I was thinking about in terms of the notion of the pariah in myself, and you know, with John and Eamon, I'm getting scared because what could manifest. If I look at them the wrong way, they could cut up very rough. But
What's yours?
the notion, you know, on a very serious note, that I was part of the mandating of political violence in this city after Bloody Sunday, in the sense that I certainly wasn't saying that in my name, and it almost striking me that when Sinn Féin or the Provost or Sinn Féin talk about the mandate for the war back then, that's what they mean, that we have felt that such a horrific thing has happened as Bloody Sunday, then that we were entitlement, there was an entitlement to strike back, and that's being scratched onto the surface. And that's what suddenly occurred to me.
So is it the case that with historical context, the role of the state, personal experiences, that people make decisions?
Or
Yeah, they-
non-decisions.
Well, that's a decision in a sense.
I understand that,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
never said publicly,
Yeah.
yeah, go on, kill those soldiers,
Yeah.
blow up that.
Yeah,
But I wasn't too aware, almost like I'm somewhat trance-like in
yeah,
this process.
yeah. And yet the people in this building and in other related projects and activities did actively say there must be another alternative. Yeah, that's the case and that's going on, but there must be other things we can think about, do, find a way. Gemma touched on political participation. That would have been a strong strand for, and still today, where people say things like, let's bring such and such a group in from the margins. You know,
Isn't that how it came about, you know, throughout all of the troubles
Yeah.
in the 70s and 80s and the 90s? It was all about negotiation, it was all about compromise, and a lot of this was happening and nobody realised.
Yeah.
And, you know, and where we got to today, you know, way back then wouldn't have happened now
Yeah.
if people haven't been having those difficult
yeah,
conversations.
they're spot on. Yeah, and the parallel processes. There's war processes and there's peace processes, and sometimes they cross over. Like the Ukraine-Russia thing at the weekend, where there was a ceasefire and bombardments. So they bang up against each other, but you're bang on. They're you know, diplomacies, activities, contact work. People in this room and others would have been involved in, or continue to be involved in, in parallel. So those are going on all right. Yeah.
The task in some ways is to form organisations and I suppose support individuals who engage in activities which help us to thicken our skin.
Yeah. All right.
So.
Yeah. Or to pick up on themes from Gemma's remarks, if I understood them, to give attention to matters of social justice. Yeah.
There are wars in families.
Yeah.
There are wars in organisations.
Yeah.
There are wars between nations. All of those are violent. They may not all involve arms, but there's huge violence against people in all of those. So it's part of the human condition.
Yes.
And I was intrigued when Eamon asked you what was the significance of DENIZEN.
Yeah.
And he said yen. I thought, oh, Zen,
Yeah.
Now there's a lot there.
Yeah.
The Zen thing is that we discover what we're like. And that's the point of the meditation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's not about, getting spaced out.
Yeah.
It's about coming to grips with our humanity. And that's what religion is too. I seem to be the only one with a sign of something on my head.
We're getting ours at 5 o'clock.
I was saying to somebody else, I'm getting a yellow star. Passover.
The note about personal stuff is very well made, and it connects with the more contextual stuff that these two gentlemen were speaking with, and Gemma was speaking with. The idea that
personal, I think, Dave.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's all personal.
Absolutely, but we're social animals. So we live in societies, and certain people live in Corrienairn, certain people live in the Culmore Road, certain people live in the Malone Road, certain people have yachts, certain people have no food on the table. So we live in societies, and the Zen thing, I'm with you on that, and finding ourselves and thickening our skins is done in a social context and historical context. Yeah.
You won't like the violence was, I'm not saying violence is the right way.
Yeah.
But like you talk about the negotiations and all that happened at thousand times.
Yeah.
You talk about the Ukraine. That's about like we're going to do as much damage before there's there obviously will be a settlement there, but we'll do as much damage as we can before we get there. As much land, and it becomes a bargaining chip.
Yeah, in negotiations. Yeah, which is the point. Susan said, even though that's going on, people are at a negotiation table. Somebody's got a club under the table. Yeah. Somebody's got a tank parked outside. So all of that's in the room as well.
Take, for example, the Iraq War. All the demonstrations against Iran, we just ignored them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay, demonstrate all you like.
Yeah, it's quite striking experience for us. That I'm a UK taxpayer. My tax pounds in that period were spent on something I was actively and vehemently opposed to because I thought it was bad for the UK. So, and yet I could do nothing about it. I demonstrated, walked around the place, sent off emails to MPs and various others. I did, in a period a long time ago, refuse to pay a portion of my taxes, but that lasted about 6 months when they threatened us in the organisation I was working in at the time.
Nice, worth a try anyway.
Yeah, we got 6 months of it, and then we had to pay. But all of that. I'm wondering, I regret doing this, but we are banging to 2 o'clock, or a little after perhaps. So unless somebody has got something really pressing and short they want to say and hasn't spoken yet, that means not me. And just before we go, yourself?
In terms of Iraq War and groups in general, a lot of it has to do with media and marketing and packaging and how you portray the events that happen. I mean, I can remember during the Iraq War, it was all about, packaging that and making it look like we really needed to go there. And certainly, here too, the media and the marketing make you believe what's right and what's wrong. The Jewish State of Israel has one of the major firms on Madison Avenue doing marketing for them in the United States because they need to be able to buy weapons from us. So.
There's a lot of very complex things about weapons manufacture, relations between states, and public portrayal of things there. And I take it back to the character Denizen. You want to meet one guy who has a very real, rational arguments why he's engaged in violence, presented artistically, poetically, and then he goes into the woods, a la Dante's Divine Comedy, and meets four figures who offer him a set of options, and he picks one. And then, so if you're interested in finding out the four and which one he picks, talk to Jenny Doherty, go to the Millennium Forum, and buy a ticket to the show. Thank you very much. More pages from the play are on the table if you want to lift another page, feel free.
Thanks a million.
Thank you, folks. Thank you.
Thanks. Next week.